Hello, we are here with Mr. and Mrs. Sankey, and they have just closed on their brand new home. So, whoop, whoop, to you guys. I know it's been a process, you guys, because we started this. I think Darren reminded me that it had been almost a year. Yeah. So, we want to just kind of talk about what this experience was like for you all, the good, the bad, the challenges, the things you wish you had known or done differently. Mm-hmm. So, help us educate future homeowners.
Okay, so I would say a couple things. You have to come in with an open mind, be flexible, and know that there are going to be unforeseen delays, circumstances. And since we built a house, which we set out with Keisha, that was not our initial plan, but the way it ended up, we ended up building our first home. And we ran into unscrupulous seller, and we walked away a week before closing from the first house we were going to buy. And so that was I guess you said a trying time, but it was all worked out in the end. And then we found a new buyer who turned out to be better, and we started to build a home. And then we ran into Hurricane Harvey, so that put us behind. And then what else?
I think overall when you're building a home, the process is different, of course, than when you're getting something pre-existing. So, there's challenges along the way. Timelines pretty much can somewhat be non-existent.
They will be.
We, as I think Keisha mentioned, we met a year ago. I think at least my initial thought was that we would be in a house in early summer, and here we are in February, getting the keys to our home. As Darren said, staying flexible, especially with your timeline, making sure that along the way you're in a situation where you either have access to housing or can continue to renew your lease or what have you, stay in your current home. Otherwise, you'll be like us today, where we're closing and we have to be out of our apartment by 5 p.m. today. I would say also make sure that you're comfortable all along the way with all the paperwork. There were several times where between our first builder, not so much the second builder, but with our first builder and all through the process with our lender, there were several times where I was able to be a part of the process and catch some mistakes that could have made a big difference financially for us had they not been caught. Not just trusting everyone that's part of the process. You're working with a million people that do this all day long, and errors happen. Everything is human error. So not being afraid to ask for the paperwork and take the time to look through the paperwork yourself, and ask questions.
Yeah, and I would also say, listen to Keisha. And because Keisha told us that with new construction, there's always some issues because it's just stuff that happens with the contractors and just anything. And, she was right. So you got to keep that in mind. Also, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like I just said, if you have questions, ask questions. I think that's it. Just overall be flexible. And when you start the process, know what you want, know what your, I guess you would say your must-haves are, and know what because you're going to have to give on something. So just know what you're willing to give on, and going into it with the idea of what you want, which may end up in the end being something totally different than what you thought of it at the beginning. Yeah. So just know that.
I would just say, to add to that, it was helpful to keep in mind this was our first home. Mm-hmm. When it came to, especially in building, you pretty much have access to whatever you want as long as you're willing to pay for it. Mm-hmm. But you want to keep in mind, what that line is between what you're willing to pay for and value, especially if this is not your forever home. Making sure it's not the most expensive home on your street in the area, things of that nature. So just being mindful of what your ultimate goal is for the home, and using that as the foundation for the choices that you're making.
And just don't take what your seller says for fact. Research, verify, always verify.
Well, you guys just made my job 10 times easier because instead of the 2-hour orientation that I typically have with folks, now I'm just going to show them this video. You all summed it up so well. So I just want you all to know that it was really a pleasure on behalf of Realty Kings Properties because we did run into all kind of hiccups along the way. And you all just had you handled it with such grace and poise. And even though I know you were frustrated, you never, ever, ever let it shake you. You never let it show, really. So congratulations. Hopefully it was all worth it. And hopefully you will have many years of wonderful enjoyment in your new home until you're ready to sell and collect all that money.
I want to make this money.
I was about to say, I know what y'all's goal is. Y'all want to sell it and cash out quick.
Cash out.
So when you get ready to sell, who you going to call? That's all I want to know.
Keisha.
All right. Well, in that case, I think that's a wrap. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.